Just popping to the bathroom.
What's up, guys? Your boy Benny. It's so rare that you get just perfect, crystal clear insight into the decaying, destroyed state of the American media industry. There's nothing I've ever read like this article about a editor's meeting at the Washington Post where everyone found out that they're all getting fired. And the main question was, but will that lead to more diversity? I kid you not, man. Join me on this deep dive to the cult of working for the corporate media, man, because this is really something. I can't sugarcoat it anymore. Will Lewis bluntly defends Washington Post shakeup. Okay, so who's Will Lewis and what happens next? So this entire article is about a lady named Sally Busby. Nobody knows who she is. Nobody cares. Sally Busby is this lady. If you're talking about like angry nanny lady who's in charge of the Washington Post, if you think like the lady who's in charge of writing all the fake news about Donald Trump looks like that, yeah, that's exactly right. This is exactly the person. But she was fired. You wanna know why? Because people like need to make money in this industry. Like they have to pay their bills, right? Jeff Bezos owns the Washington Post and he's tired of losing $100 million a year. So she's fired. She's out. And the publisher, a guy named Will Lewis, a British dude, stood up in front of the newsroom and said, oh yeah, sorry for the email last night, announcing that the lady in charge of this place is now fired. And what were the first questions he got? The most cynical interpretation sort of feels like you chose two of your buddies to come in and help run the Post, and now we have 4 white men running 3 newsrooms. Dude, y'all are going to be so unemployed so fast. You do realize too, by the way, that this is inherently racist, right? So they never mention Sally Busby is an old boomer white lady. But they do talk about white men all the time. Do you realize how poisonous this is to your culture? That like, it just doesn't really matter if you were doing this to black men or to Asian men or to Hispanic men or to any men or to any person. That this kind of like degradation of people based on the color of their skin, based on 1,000 years of where their ancestors lived. But you'll hear that multiple times in this article. The Washington Post, like, screaming and mewling. These are the intelligent writers of the Washington Post, like about the skin color of the people who are leading the Washington Post. This is what they care about. And this is why they're going to be out of work very, very soon. So this is a really interesting, the entire article is really, really interesting, but let me give you some, give me just some top lines here. We found out on Sunday evening in an email. That is not how well-functioning companies announce major news, personnel news with the firing of Sally Busby, one staffer told me. What the F? That's how I feel right now. What the F? Okay, got it. The New York Times beat the Washington Post on their own news, which is really embarrassing and kind of funny. So Lewis is saying that in the meeting with the reporters that he's going to do his best on the whole diversity thing. Wink, wink, nod, nod. Later in the meeting, another reporter asked Lewis whether any women of color were interviewed or seriously considered for either of these positions. The question that prompted applause. Lewis said there will be significant opportunities in new organizational structure. Asked by another staffer about which people he had met, Lewis said it was an iterative, messy process, which I don't want to get into the details of. So they're sitting there in front of the guy who's running it, right? The publisher, the guy who's in charge of everything. And now this is the second time that they've demanded the people's skin color. Again, do you understand how regressive this is? How fundamentally effed up that is. Again, we call leftism a regressive ideology, and it truly, truly is. And then the guy finally snaps on them. Okay, so after getting like peppered with like Disney Star Wars level diversity questions from the Washington Post staff, who should simply care about, do we make money? Is our paper breaking news, and do we make money? Instead of the race of the people at the paper. Lewis finally snaps. This guy's a Brit, and he goes, at one point, Lewis asked whether he was intentionally bringing in people who come from different culture than the Post. And he says, we are losing large amounts of money. Your audience has halved in recent years. People are not reading your stuff. I can't sugarcoat it anymore. Oh, man. This, I mean, I got to tell you, if you're talking about saying something to a journalist who fancies themselves like super highfalutin and esteemed, it's fine, right? From your wife. I mean, this is the worst thing you could possibly say. Nobody reads your stuff. Nobody cares what you have to say. Really, it is a remarkable read. You should go. It's up here on Vanity Fair. You should go read it. It ends in such an amazing way. Oh man, it ends talking about don't feel good about the fact that the first female executive editor of the Washington Post got one paragraph goodbye at 8:30 p.m. on a Sunday, and she's being replaced by more white men we don't know. Dude, get out of the news business, okay? This is a brutal business. Nobody knows this better than me. This is a brutal business. I know a bunch of people who work at the Washington Post. Like, you people are such weaklings. So at least 3 times in that article, you whine and scream about the color of the skin of the people leading the Post. Not like, does the Post make money? Should we, is that good for us? Like, should we be doing our jobs better? Nope. Literally all identity politics. BLM is in shambles. The Washington Post is losing a fortune. Ibram Kendi down bad. It's not 2020 anymore. Not a moment too soon, says Chris Rufo. Oh, yeah. The feel-good story of the day, the Washington Post lost $77 million last year and halved its readership since 2020. So they brought in a non-checkbox leadership and got grilled about continuing DEI as if it wasn't the likely culprit of the majority of their failures. Yes, correct. That is the correct take. Christina Pushwa saying the Washington Post lost $77 million last year. These sentiments being echoed here. If I were employed at the rapidly failing company and a meeting of new management, the last thing on my mind would be the race, gender, or age, or other innate characteristics. The only thing that matters is, can we save the company, or does everybody lose their job? What is wrong with these people? Like they I don't understand. The Jeff Bezos-owned Washington Post is staring down catastrophic collapse. It's lost over $70 million in 2023 alone. Such dire straits serve as a cold, hard proof that the self-inflicted wounds resulting from the paper's unapologetic stance and as a propaganda outlet for Democrats. Nobody trusts them anymore. You know, they won Pulitzer Prizes for lies about Donald Trump and Russiagate. Like, where do the prizes go? Is there like a rule where the prize, like you have to report true things, otherwise you have to give the prize back? Calls grow for newspapers to return Pulitzers for reporting on Russiagate. That was all obviously fake. Now you have activist investors buying up huge parts of media companies like Vivek Ramaswamy. It's like an open season. These companies are trash, and the entire industry is trash. And the reason why is because once you break trust with somebody, then you can't really restore that again. They've lied to you enough. They've broken your trust, and the readership are going elsewhere. to people that actually, spit facts and that aren't afraid of reporting real things. I don't like half the topics that we have to talk about on the program, but they're not lies at the very least, right? Yeah. And being not lies in a world of lies is enough to stand out. Ladies and gentlemen, cancel your newspapers, turn off your TVs, come on over here and join our channel. It's your boy Benny. Like, share, and subscribe. And I will never make a hire based on somebody's skin color. They're not progressives, they're regressive.